Hey guys, welcome to the last story for December Daily 2023. This is story 25, and I'm using these pieces that I created in Photoshop Elements. This idea comes from several individuals, and I have linked them below so you can check them out. So you can take these pieces and score them on the long side at 1/2 inch. So you're going to score them, and however you score is fine because you're going to end up turning it both ways just to make sure it's nice and flexible, because this is going to be a moving piece that's going to go back and forth. Okay, so again, this is 1/2 inch on the long side. Once you're done with that, you're going to go ahead and you're just going to kind of fold that. Now, I do that both ways. So that's why I said it doesn't matter what side you score it on, because this needs to be able to move in both directions. So get your scoring tool or whatever tool you need to make a nice, crisp crease. And you want to go ahead and you want to crease each of those individual pieces here. Once you're done scoring along that 1/2 inch, you want to fold down each of these tabs. And I'm going to call them tabs because I'm not really sure what they're called. And then I'm also going to bend them both ways as well, because we want them to be nice and flexible. You're going to end up putting these on a base. So this circle paper, the negative circle paper, is going to go on a 10x8 base of your choice. Okay, then you're going to line the flap piece, I'm not really sure what to call that, underneath the negative circle piece, and making sure there's a little bit of space between the actual circle on the white piece and the cut out circles on the other piece. Okay, so you'll see here I am going to go ahead and slide this piece of copy paper here. And I just do this because I don't want to get any adhesive on the actual circles. I only want adhesive on these little tabs. So go ahead and put some rolling adhesive on those tabs, pull out the copy paper, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to lay that negative circle paper on top so that the tabs are adhered and that you have a little itty bitty teeny weeny piece of space so that the circles can move freely, so that the white circles can move freely through the outlined circles. Now you can go ahead and you can use some score tape after you have adhered it with rolling adhesive if you feel like you want it to be a little bit more secure. I find that using the rolling adhesive is better for me because as I'm placing that negative circle striped paper on top of that white flap paper, I might have to do some movement. And you guys know how score tape and red line tape are just so strong that if I make an error, I'm super nervous I won't be able to change it. And you do, again, have to be careful with your placement here because you need to make sure there's space so that those white circles can move freely. So again, if you want to, you can totally go ahead and now that you've placed it, lift up each one of those individual flaps and put a tiny piece of score tape under there to keep that together really, really nicely. Again, that's up to you. I will be honest, I did not do that. I think I wanted to, I think I meant to, but after I got it together, it seemed to work perfectly fine, and it seemed that the rolling adhesive was holding it very well. So I ended up really not doing anything more than that at all. Okay, so again, 3 times you're doing this, 3 times. And I'm just removing some of the excess adhesive with my finger so that it doesn't stick to the base page that you're going to choose in the next step of this process. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of, I'm creasing these nicely because I want them to be able to be moved back and forth. You're going to want to do that with your score tool. Sometimes I use my finger now. But either way, just make sure those are nice and creased. And then here you're just going to see me checking out what patterned paper I want to use. I went from green to tan to the X and O paper, pulled out a couple different ones, moved around a little bit, eventually settled on the tan with the stars. You're going to place this on top of that paper. So this should fit very nicely on top. If you have to trim the edges from the top or the bottom, you can. but you want this to fit very nicely on top of a piece of 10 by 8 patterned paper of your choice. Then I'm going to go ahead and make a decision, which way do I want this to open? And you'll see here I'm kind of moving it back and forth. So let me tell you this much. If you want it to open towards the right, you want these pieces pointing, and I know that's a strange word, but pointing towards the left. And if you want this piece to open, so this is opening to the right, you want those pieces pointing to the left. If you want it opening to the left, you want the pieces pointing to the right. And do you see how it's going to open to the left? That is your decision. I ended up choosing to have it open to the right. So you're going to do whatever works better for you, with whatever, page orientation it's going to be for you, or whatever way you're going to place it in your album, right? Is it going to be on the right side of the album or on the left? So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to pull out this is score tape. This is 1/2 inch. I thought it was a little bit too wide. It was like perfect. And I just felt like it was something I had to be a little bit too careful with in placing it. So I chose this red lined tape that is thinner. So I'm going to line that flap there, that 1/2 inch piece, with some score tape. I'm going to go from one edge to the other, and then I'll go ahead and I will trim that off. And this is how it's going to adhere to that tan colored base page. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to do that for all 3 of these 1/2 inch folded over pieces. Okay, so I'm happy about using the score tape here because I really do think this is what is holding everything in place very, very nicely. And so not having used the score tape on those tiny flaps really didn't seem to matter because this is going to be held really, really nicely to that base page with this red line or score tape or whatever you're going to use. So I'm going to line it up, and you're going to notice here that I'm going to do one of these at a time. I am not taking the backing off of all of these pieces at once. I am starting with the one that is furthest to the right. I am lining this up, and I will adhere only that first 1/2 inch flap. Just pressing down nicely on there and just making sure everything is straight and that my circles are able to move within. So the white circles are able to move within the open circles. And I really hope I'm making sense, guys. I'm trying my best here. Then I'll remove the adhesive, the backing from that adhesive, and I will do that to the second one. And then, of course, you guessed it, I'm going to remove that and adhere the third one down. So there you can see as I'm moving it exactly how it's moving. And I'm just pushing down, making sure everything is nice. It's not going to lay 100% flat, but I can tell you from having it in my album now, because this was a foundation page for me, it gets flat. It kind of lays nice and flat after it's been in the album for a little bit. So don't worry about whether or not it's kind of puffing up, because that's not that big of a deal. So that's it. As difficult as this may have seemed, I think the engineering of it was the hardest part. Once I figured out what to do in PSE to create these pieces, it was easy peasy from that point forward. Now, that star part that you can see there, you're going to have to decide what, if anything, you want to put on it. You're going to see here in just a few seconds that I went ahead and I used this handwritten paper from Allie Edwards from last year's December daily release that says Merry Christmas. So you're going to see here that I am just kind of cutting that paper to fit in that space. I have Christmas and I have Merry, and then I have other pieces of the words Christmas and Merry. So I'll go ahead and I'll put that down, and I'm just closing that to see how I like it. I end up having to remove it in order to trim it. But once you get it in place, you're then going to go ahead and punch the holes through that. And then the rest is just super easy. I will tell you here that what I have are some circles. These are 2 1/4 inch circles that fit perfectly on each of those white circles that are on the flaps. So I also pulled out a couple die cuts. My photos to have the white around them are printed from Photoshop in a 2-inch circle and then punched out with the 2¼ inch circle. And that's it, guys. I did some foiling on my words, but it really did end up being super, super easy. So let's take a look at what it looks like in my album. And as always, in true Deneen fashion, I went ahead and added a few extras. I added some chipboard phrases from this year's release. Each one of those has a star above it, and I added a chipboard piece to the number 25 in the middle. Not a lot of embellishing here. The design of the page just kind of speaks for itself. So I just wanted to add a few things because I always do that. And then if you flip it, pull it, you'll see the pull tab on the right there. Do you see that pull tab all the way to the right? You pull on that to the right, and then you will see my additional photos, a little bit more chipboard, and in the middle I put our special story, and then I think that says have something about Merry Christmas on the other die cut that I can't see right now as I'm narrating this video. But that's it. That is the page and how simple it was to put together. And I'd like to just send a heartfelt thank you out to everyone who has followed along with me, for all of your comments, for all of your support. It has been so much fun doing this. And I didn't really think I could keep up with these process videos, but I really enjoyed it. And it was definitely more enjoyable with all of you coming along with me for the journey. So hopefully I'll be able to put a walkthrough together very shortly if you're interested in that. Keep your eyes open. Otherwise, you can find me in the Allie Edwards Story Classroom each month on the 12th of each month, sharing a stamping idea for the story stamp. And I'll try to be here as much as I can. Otherwise, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I will absolutely 100% be willing to help you. Enjoy 2024, and we will see you guys again at the end of the year.